welcome. This is Erica Glessing. You're joining me for the show. I'm so excited today. I have a pair of amazing authors with me, and I'm not going to brag on their behalf, but one of them has over 3 million books in print. So let's just see what we can do to find out more about these two amazing people. They happen to live in the Wild Wild West, or what once was. I'm pleased today to have with me Don Bendell and his wife, Dr. Janet Bendell, and they have an amazing new book called Real Men Are Cowboys. Welcome, Don and Janet. How are you?
Hi, Erica.
Hi, how are you? Oh, did you mean this book, Erica?
And Don's holding up Real Men Are Cowboys and Women Love Them. Their brand new baby, but where are you in the world? And I understand you had a bit of a snowstorm this week.
Yeah, we did. It was 70-some degrees the other day. I went out to feed my horse, and I was in, T-shirt and sweats and slippers. And now we have like a foot of snow on the ground, and it was like below 30 last night.
The sun's out. We're happy.
Yeah, the sun's out today.
Welcome to Colorado, right?
Yeah. Especially southern Colorado. We get 330 days of sunshine a year.
Well,
sure
I'm curious how you to kind of, this book has it has a little bit of spice, doesn't it? I mean, it has a little bit of a, cowboy up, right? So tell me a little bit about the genesis of that and how you came up with like that message, and it's kind of a firm message.
Well, I'm going to defer to my wife on that because she really had a problem for 25 years with the many doctors and lawyers and professional men she dated until she met the cowboy. And I'll let her tell that story.
Well, it's true. I had been married before, but I was single for a long, long time. And I dated all kinds of successful men, investment bankers, chiropractors, all kinds of really terrific men. But something was missing. And it wasn't until I met Don that I really realized what that was. He's not just a cowboy, but we use that as a metaphor for what we would call a real man. Don is a modern day John Wayne. And that means he's a guy who says what he means what he says, and he follows through.
And I have to say, Janet, just when someone does what they say and says what they do has become something of an anomaly, right?
Yes, you can count on him. A lot of guys have become wimps or wimpy, just wishy-washy. You're not really sure if they're reliable. Women aren't sure if they can depend on them. As soon as I met Don, I realized that this was a solid person of character. And that was what was important to me. And from listening to all of his stories, I encouraged him to write them down because I felt that he just completely demonstrated the real man in today's modern society. We're not really in the Wild West, but in the world, you don't find that many real men. I think they're a little bit lost, and we're trying to help to encourage them to get back to a traditional solid manhood, not one that persecutes or oppresses in any way, but a real solid guy that you can be proud to be with.
I'm gonna back up a little bit, and I'm not sure I've really let people see that you have written, over 30 books. And I want to just talk a little bit about becoming the storyteller, because you've written books about Vietnam. You've been willing to take on topics that are, not that liberal.
Conservative, yes.
Tell me a little bit about how your stories show up for you, and then we can go back to the book. But tell me a little bit about how you just keep coming up with these Westerns, these stories.
Well, when I was a little boy, I'm talking 5 years old, I had a great uncle who was like 6'6". We called him Big Uncle Roy, and then my Uncle Roy was Little Uncle Roy. He was normal, like 5'8", 5'9", something like that. 4 Bronze Stars in World War II. I was very close with my Uncle Roy, but my big Uncle Roy used to be the manager of the Lyceum Theater in Chicago. And he traveled the country speaking as Abraham Lincoln and a couple other characters doing one-man shows. And he had a deep, booming voice, and he had a vocabulary with so many esoteric
Wow.
phraseology.
Yeah.
I was blown away, and I was 5 years old. And so my uncle told me to learn a new word every week and learn the definition of it and how to spell it. And because I told him I wanted to be an eloquent speaker like him. Of course, I didn't say eloquent at 5 years old, but I want to be neat like you, Uncle Roy. And so he told me what to do. I was very impressed by that. He was very regal and you know, in the deep booming voice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that most 5-year-old boys don't like set out to learn a new word every single week and its definition, how to spell it, right?
I did, but in the 5th and 6th grade, I was a school spelling bee champion, so it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so in any event, I also dreamed about being a cowboy. And I all the Saturday morning, in those days, Saturday morning cartoon characters, we didn't have the SpongeBobs and SquarePants and Power Rangers. We had cowboys, and they had this moral code. They'd get in a gunfight and they'd shoot the bad guy in the hand and make the gun fly out of his hand. And they would never kick a guy below the belt or even kick, and all that. But they would, their word meant something, and they would die keeping their word. And they were gentlemen, and they would treat ladies like ladies. And so I grew up with that. And fortunately, my dad didn't have the best parenting skills, but one thing he did was he taught me when I was very young. A little girl down the street beat me with a stick, so I took it away from her and hit her back. And my dad took me home and paddled me for about 10 minutes. And he said, never, ever touch a female in anger the rest of your life. And I never have. And in fact, I've spent 53 years in the martial arts teaching women how to ward off rapists, domestic abusers, and intimidating bosses, and the uncle with the slow hug. You know what I mean?
Have you noticed, Janet, that he really doesn't get how to do things in a small way?
Big.
I'm just going to be the champion of the world of this and the champion of the world of that. So let's go up to now. We're going to fast forward. We have all these great books that you've written, and this is really your first delve into the nonfiction. So tell us a little bit about the book Real Men Are Cowboys and Women. Say the title again for me, Janet, even though I know
and women love them.
Ah!
Real men are cowboys and women love them.
And I love
yes. You two are so fun. You have to admit, everyone, I timed this perfectly for Valentine's.
Oh, good.
So why don't you just talk a little bit more about the book, and either of you can just go a little bit more.
Well, for my part, I tell 13 different anecdotes from my life in the martial arts as a Green Beret in Vietnam, as a tracker. I've tracked missing hikers and fugitives in the mountains and the desert and so on. I was married, you mentioned Valentine's Day. 6 years ago, Valentine's Day, my late wife of 33 years passed away, and I lost her, and I've been married, I don't know, what wife number are you?
5.
Oh, 5.
I tell everybody number 19, but
Yeah.
It's really number 5.
Yeah, but in any event, I was married for 33 years and very much in love with Annie Oakley. And then I married on the rebound, somebody 20 years younger than me, and the ceremony lasted longer than the marriage. And because I didn't properly grieve my wife's death, I loved her so much, I didn't handle it right. I thought because she was a Christian, she was in heaven and out of pain now. And I was happy for her, even though I was going to miss her. And I thought, boy, I got a handle on this. And I married on the rebound, corrected that mistake quickly. And I was never going to get married again. And I met Janet and I fell in love with her. So I was married to Annie Oakley for 33 years, and now I'm married to Grace Kelly.
Aw, you
That's
guys are
sweet.
amazing. You know, I wish we could go on forever. I want to encourage people to go out and get this book, because if you love like stories, you're going to love Dawn's stories. And then if you love just learning more about the psychology of men and women, you're going to love Dr. Janet Sullivan's contribution. And Janet Bendell. Sorry.
Yeah.
She used to be Dr. Sullivan. That name just snuck in there, didn't it? Well, maybe some people recognize her from that name as well. So thank you both so much for coming and showing and playing full out. And why don't you tell us where we can reach you and get this great book?
Well, our website is realmenorcowboys.com. That took a lot of creativity on our part. Or you can go to donbendell.com, either one.
Great.
And that, you know, and it tells you there how to contact us.
Awesome.
Thanks like by phone or Twitter. We're
Wonderful
on Facebook
talking
and all
with
that.
you. Thank you so much, Erica.
Thank you, Erica.